Master Xehanort is the central antagonist of the Kingdom Hearts series, whose ambitions and influence shape the very fabric of the game's universe. A Keyblade master consumed by a desire to bring balance to light and darkness, Xehanort's ultimate goal is to forge the fabled Keyblade and unlock the true Kingdom Hearts. He is a character driven by philosophical pursuits and the belief that the only way to ensure universal equilibrium is to reset the world through a catastrophic event known as the Keyblade War. Xehanort's story begins long before the events of the mainline series. Said to be born on the Destiny Island, he yearned for a life beyond the confines of his world. Now doesn't that sound familiar? His insatiable curiosity led him to become a Keyblade wielder, studying under the mysterious Master Odin alongside Ericus, who would later become his friend turned rival. In Kingdom Hearts Dark Road, we see Xehanort's beginnings as a young man who wrestled with the ideas of fate and darkness. His journey shaped his belief that light and darkness must exist in perfect balance. Over time, this belief twisted into the notion that the world had grown too saturated with light, and only by embracing darkness and triggering a new Keyblade War could the cycle be reset. This perspective, while rooted in a desire to save the universe, marks Xehanort as a villain whose extreme methods lead him astray. Perhaps one of the most fascinating elements of Xehanort's character is his use of time travel. By casting his heart into different points in time, he manifests alternate versions of himself, including the stoic Xemnas and the manipulative Ansem, the seeker of darkness. Xemnas, the leader of Organization 13, seeks to complete Xehanort's plans by using hearts to forge a new Kingdom Hearts, while Ansem targets Sora and his friends to further his own dark agenda. Young Xehanort, a version of himself from the past and my personal version of him, is another incarnation who plays a significant role, especially in Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance. Xehanort uses young Xehanort to ensure his plans come to fruition, orchestrating events across time to assemble his true form's ultimate organization, the real Organization 13. Xehanort's mastery of time allows him to be virtually omnipresent, pulling the strings behind every major event in the series. One of Xehanort's most enigmatic elements is his Keyblade, which bears no name, so it's just referred to as No Name. Adorned with an eye that symbolizes omniscience, this Keyblade has deep ties to the ancient Keyblade War and the Master of Masters himself. The mystery surrounding this Keyblade suggests that Xehanort may have access to an ancient knowledge or even the Master of Masters' own foresight, adding another layer to his motivations. The name No Name is fitting as it reflects Xehanort's desire to transcend individuality and serve as a vessel for a greater purpose. This weapon, which also appears to be wielded by other versions of Xehanort, serves as a key, no pun intended, in his ultimate ambition to control and remake the universe. Xehanort's overarching philosophy is based on a belief in balance. He is neither purely evil or driven by malevolent intent. Rather, his methods and extreme views are what make him dangerous. In his eyes, darkness is a natural part of the world that must be embraced, not rejected. This balance is necessary, and he is willing to destroy entire worlds to restore it. The question here is, was Xehanort right? On one hand, his intentions stem from a desire to prevent the universe from collapsing into chaos. On another, his willingness to manipulate and sacrifice countless lives, including his own apprentices, demonstrates the dangerous path that noble ideals can take when unchecked by morality. His philosophy of the ends justify the means ultimately makes a tragic figure, someone whose vision blinded him to the consequences of his actions. The legacy of Master Xehanort is immense, not just because of his direct actions, but because of how far-reaching his influence is. He was essentially responsible for the Heartless, Nobodies, and the Unversed. He shattered Sora's life on multiple occasions and set the stage for many of the key events in the series. His manipulations, from the creation of Organization 13 to the events of Birth by Sleep, laid the groundwork for the Keyblade War he so desperately sought to reignite. In Kingdom Hearts 3, his plan reaches its climax when he summons the Keyblade, revealing that everything, from Sora's journey to the fall of countless worlds, was part of his greater design. His final defeat comes not through power, but through the realization that his plan was ultimately flawed. In a touching moment of quote-unquote redemption, Xehanort acknowledges that light and darkness must coexist naturally and not be forced. There's something I read in the Kingdom Hearts Ultimania that I found particularly interesting. Allegedly, Master Xehanort's vision of balance is far more nuanced than a simple struggle between light and darkness. His ideology extends to the very concept of power itself, particularly the power of the Keyblade. Xehanort firmly believes that the ability to wield a Keyblade, the most powerful tool in the universe, check out this video if you didn't know that, should not be confined to an elite few, like the Keyblade Masters. In his mind, the concentration of such power in the hands of a select group leads to stagnation and imbalance of the worlds. He views this as a fundamental flaw in the current system, where Keyblade wielders are gatekeepers of light, and the rest of the universe is left vulnerable to the forces of darkness. In my opinion, Xehanort's belief that power should be distributed to all rather than concentrated reflects his deeper dissatisfaction with the status quo. He perceives the world as unequal, where certain individuals are chosen to wield great power while the others remain powerless, and it's this skewed desire for equality that drives his radical actions throughout the series. He seeks to break down the barriers that separate Keyblade wielders from ordinary beings, believing that in doing so, he can create a new world where balance reigns supreme and no single faction holds too much control over another. This vision also aligns with Xehanort's broader philosophy of balance. For him, it's not enough to just balance light and darkness. He wants to upend the societal structures that have defined the universe for so long. In his mind, the cycle of light wielding control over darkness has perpetuated an unbalanced world, and the power dynamic must be reset. Xehanort's methods, such as igniting the Keyblade War and manipulating Organization 13, are all geared towards achieving this radical redistribution of power. However, while Xehanort's vision has elements of fairness, his execution is inherently flawed and dangerous. His desire to force this balance through mass destruction and the recreation of the entire universe highlights his twisted sense of equality. Rather than strengthening individuals organically, he seeks to impose his version of equality through domination, often at the cost of countless lives. His vision, therefore, becomes a double-edged sword where his pursuit of balance leads to chaos and suffering. In this light, Xehanort's philosophy is not entirely evil, but it is one of the many examples where well-meaning ideals become corrupted through extreme means. His desire for balance, power sharing, and equality is, admirable in theory, but his insistence on enforcing this through manipulation and destruction paints him as a tragic antagonist, a man who, despite his ideals, lost his way in the quest for control. In my eyes, Xehanort stands as one of gaming's most complex antagonists. His role in the Kingdom Hearts series as the orchestrator of so much chaos and conflict is unmatched. His beliefs, while rooted in a desire to save the universe, were corrupted by his obsession with control and balance. Whether you want to view him as a misguided idealist or a villain blinded by ambition, there is no denying that Xehanort was a fantastic antagonist. In the end, Xehanort's legacy may not just be his actions, but also the question he leaves us with. Is balance truly something that can be forced, or must light and darkness be allowed to exist naturally, side by side?